On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, we're going to do a little bit more of a dive into the Dolphins' Week 1 win. As usual, 5th year in a row. Here we go with the recap show. We're going to look at snap counts, PFF grades, next-gen stats. We'll have the latest on the Tyreek Hill incident. And we're going to talk about, is Tua Tagovailoa solidifying himself as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL after yesterday's win? Plus, we'll look at efficiency charts and a whole lot more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate all y'all coming through today. We got a lot to talk about, and remember, tomorrow night we'll be live around 7:30, 7:45, me and Martin, for Tua Tuesdays. We will break down every single drawback of Tua Tagovailoa from yesterday's game, so be sure to be out on the lookout for that one, okay? Tomorrow night. Taryn, member for 23 months, says, I feel like McDaniel dumbed down the offense to hide stuff for the Thursday game. At least I hope he did, because we struggled at times. Thoughts? I think you saw a lot of screens and play actions to kind of mitigate, his fear of if the offensive line could hold up in pass pro. That's what I think you saw. Now, he'll never admit that, ever. But that's the sense that I get. You know what I mean? When you break it down and you look at it, that, about 36% of the plays were play action and about 27% were screens, that equals like 63% of the plays ran yesterday were basically to mitigate the offensive line. So that's where I'm at. PL says, go get DeShaun, Watson, Lamar, and Trevor Lawrence. Weak arm Tua could never overthrow Tyreek. No game-winning drives. Narratives. People are so quiet. Oh my God! Listen, can we talk about DeShaun Watson right now? First of all, how bad is this guy? How bad is this guy? And there were people that were ready to move the world and send everything for him and pay him. And now DeShaun Watson is being sued for sexual assault and battery again. He was just sued today in Houston for sexual assault and battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, it's a little bit different. This wasn't a massage therapist. This woman who, she's, her name isn't very released, so she's Jane Doe. She basically said she went on a date with Watson. And basically, the date was set for October 10, 2020. Watson, per the lawsuit, was initially unable to find her apartment. He called her and allegedly began aggressively yelling and screaming and stating that he could not find her apartment and that he doesn't have time for this. Then, apparently, when Watson finally arrived at her apartment, she had not finished putting on makeup, so she invited Watson in to have a seat in her living room while she finished getting ready. As she was putting on makeup in her bathroom, she left the bathroom door open and attempted a conversation with Watson, trying to ease the tension from his angry outburst. She quickly began to believe she was talking to herself because Watson wasn't responded. So she came out of her bathroom to investigate Watson's silence and shockingly found him completely naked on her bed, lying face down on his stomach. While she stood there in shock, Watson turned his head and aggressively insisted that she massage him, gesturing his buttocks. Jane Doe asked if Watson meant he wanted her to massage his back, but Watson indicated that it was his buttocks he wanted massage. She claims at this point she was terrified. She was in her small apartment with a much larger man, and she was still feeling away after Watson's outburst in aggression. She tried to rub his back rather than his buttocks, but he began insisting that he focused on the glutes. Seemingly frustrated that she would only rub his back, Watson then turned over, revealing a ERECTION. Watson continued to demand that she massage him, gesturing from his knees to his groin. And yeah, it just goes on and on from there. And what's crazy about this is, listen, for the Browns, it's possible that Watson could be subject to a suspension or investigation under the personal conduct policy. And if he is suspended, that could give the Browns a path towards voiding his remaining salary guarantees and ending the contract. So, yeah, the Browns might have got a way out. We'll see. But yeah, all these people wanted this guy, and look at how he's playing. He's absolutely terrible. And shout out to Hasson Reddick. Hasson Reddick, by not showing up, this guy has incurred $5 million in fines so far. $5 million. $5 million. Like, unbelievable. Wow. Man. So, hold on a sec. All right. So, all these people that wanted Watson, you guys are nuts. I wasn't really on board back then, and I'm glad I wasn't one of these people that was on the front lines pushing for Watson to Miami. Because never mind what he's doing off the field, his play is awful. And now Hasson Reddick, the Jets, that tells you how bad it is. Hasson Reddick does not want to be there. If this guy's willing to take $5 million or more in fines, that's unbelievable. Another point I wanted to talk about too was, I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch it, but I went back and watched the reps. Joe Alt against Max Crosby yesterday. The rookie tackle from Notre Dame on the Chargers, he was absolutely fantastic. Props to Joe Alt, man. That kid's going to be a stud. And he got moved from left to right. So even more so was that impressive. Guys, this video is powered by BetUS. I just want to remind all y'all and let you know what the deal is. It's powered by BetUS. Shout out to BetUS for powering this video and sponsoring this video. All right. Man, just a lot going on. It's crazy, and we still got Monday Night Football tonight. We still have a Monday Night Football tonight. San Fran, New York Jets. Let's go Niners, all right? I think we're all Niners fans tonight, right? I think we're all Niners fans tonight. I really do. None of us want to see, and what's crazy is if the Jets win, I believe that means we started off, the AFC East, everyone started off with a win, which is crazy. So AFC East is starting off really strong on week 1 if the Jets win. But, I think the San Francisco 49ers definitely are going to handle business for sure. For sure. All right. So, and just so you guys know, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert did not practice today. Either did Malik Washington. Liam Eichenberg, Jalen Phillips, Jalen Ramsey were limited today. But Malik Washington, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane did not practice today. All right. Now, like I said, this video is sponsored by BetUS. And, I mean, you need to go over to betus.com. And I'm going to tell you why. Right now, Tua Tagovailoa is still plus 400 to be the season leader in passing yards. Remember, he led the league in passing yards last year. And now he's leading the league after one weekend in passing, with obviously Monday Night Football still pending. All right. So shout out to BetUS. All right. And they now have a new promotion. They have a 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. All you got to do is use code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. And you can go put some money down, because right now, even at plus 400, go put $100 down. I think Tua Tagovailoa, we're dealing with another year where he's leading the league in passing. So, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the show. Go over to betus.com. All right. Go throw some money down on this prop. And hey, go throw some money down on Monday Night Football if you're feeling real frisky. Remember, your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 will be matched by 150%. All you got to do is use code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. And as always, remember to gamble responsibly. All right. Now, that's perfect to lead us into something I wanted to discuss. Has Tua Tagovailoa solidified himself as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL after yesterday? Guys, 338 yards. He leads the league in passing after one weekend, with Monday Night Football still pending, and that was an off game. All right? He hits that throw to Tyreek early in the game. We're talking about over 400 yards. He totally outclassed Trevor Lawrence, who just got paid more money than Joe Burrow in terms of annual average. Totally outclassed him. Wasn't even close. I showed you guys yesterday. Tua Tagovailoa had the 8th highest aggressive throw rate. Just over 16% of his throws came into tight windows. Trevor Lawrence made 0 aggressive throws. He looks like he's gearing up to be in the MVP discussion once more. Here we are. He is gearing up to be in the MVP discussion once again. 3rd year in a row. 2022, his bid for the MVP was ended by concussions. Last year, he was in the MVP race until week 17, and the wheels fell off against the Ravens and the Bills. So, I mean, and he looks to be far more nimbler. He led a winning drive against a team that was above 500 last year. Remember, he led a winning drive against the Chargers to open last year too, against a team that was coming off a playoff appearance. And I think what was most impressive about him was how cool, calm, and collected he was in that second half. He didn't, we've seen in the past. Remember, we've seen in the past. The first couple years with Flores, and even a little in 2022, even sometimes in 2023, what would he do? He would force the situation. Instead of taking what the defense gave him, you would see him force it. Yesterday, he's looking off first reads, totally skipping them because he sees the second reads opening. He's shifting defenders on glance RPO looks with his eyes. I mean, we're seeing the evolution of the kid. And on top of this, we've got him where we haven't seen this in the past, where he went in to the locker room at halftime. We heard, remember, Flores' last year against Tennessee, he gave it to Flores and let Flores know what time it was. Now he's being the leader he's supposed to be and chin checking all the players and all the coaches in the locker room. I mean, you know, and people want to, but Tua, all those passes behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah, that's called taking what your defense gives you and letting your playmakers work. It wasn't a problem when over 50% of Justin Herbert's yardage would come from at the line of scrimmage or behind it. It was never a problem. When Austin Eckler would freaking eat off of behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage throws, everyone gave Justin Herbert the pass and named him a top 10 quarterback and a top 5 quarterback until last year. Part of playing the position is you got to know when to take what the defense gives you. And if, on top of that, if you get calls coming in that are screens, you got to execute the play call. You know, it's, these many passes are behind the line of scrimmage when it's Tua. But when it was Herbert for 4 years being a check down merchant, no one said a goddamn thing. Tua has one game like that, and everyone wants to hold him to a different standard. Give me a break. Tua Tagovailoa did what needed to be done. All right? And Tua Tagovailoa in that second half was absolutely lights out. Absolutely lights out. He was 12 of 16 for 207 yards, a touchdown, had 0 turnover-worthy plays, had a passer rating of above 140. Just saying. There's no big update. Apparently he's fine. He was put down as a full participant, I believe, today. Franklin's son, welcome to the Pro Bowl. Brother, you're not moving. Why would you move Teron Armstead to left guard when he's an all-pro left tackle? Brother, you're trying to force Patrick Paul onto the field here. They're not moving Teron Armstead to left guard. That is not happening. And Patrick Paul doesn't have the skill set to play at left guard. No. You can't hide ugly, but you can't hide this offensive line, says Brad Martin, member for 17 months. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Robert Jones was the issue. Austin Jackson had that one bad rep where they sent 3 and he got put on his heels and Tua got sacked. Other than that, he was good. I thought Liam Eichenberg was far more competent at guard. I thought Aaron Brewer was pretty good. He had some reps in run blocking where he was tossing guys. And Armstead was lights out too. Armstead was definitely lights out too. So, but for me, Tua Tagovailoa, to me, he's solidifying his spot. You know he's going back into the MVP conversation this year. I have not looked, but I think Lewinsky and stuff is still out there. I haven't checked the free agent list. It hasn't changed very much from what it was, right? So when we'd go over it all off season. So, and shout out I gotta say this, I gave my takeaways yesterday. If you want to see my takeaways, go watch tomorrow's or go check out Twitter. Again, shout out to Jake Bailey. He had arguably his best game as a Miami Dolphin. He had his best game, I thought, as a Dolphin. He was letting it rip. So we got a lot to go over. So let's start off. Let's get into it. And let's start off with the Tyreek Hill incident because South Florida Police Department has released a statement and Tyreek, through his lawyer, has released a statement. So let's get into this. All right. So Here's the media statement from South Florida Police. Before the Dolphins game yesterday, an incident occurred where Tyreek Hill was placed in handcuffs before being released. First, to be clear, at no time was he ever under arrest. He was briefly detained for officer safety after driving in a manner which he was putting himself and others in great risk of danger. Upon being stopped, Mr. Hill was not immediately cooperative with the officers on scene, who, pursuant to policy for the immediate safety, placed Mr. Hill in handcuffs. Mr. Hill, still uncooperative, refused to sit on the ground and was therefore redirected to the ground. Once the situation was sorted out within a few minutes, Mr. Hill was issued 2 traffic citations and was free to leave. We would like to stress to the community to use this as an opportunity to remember that it is always best to obey lawful police commands first and complain later. We have worked hard across all communities to bridge the gap between what people believe law enforcement should and can do and will continue to do so. In this case, while we await for the investigation to run its course, based on what we know, we stand with the actions of our officers, but look forward to further open communication moving forward. While we are confident in the actions that led to the stop of Mr. Hill, with any investigation, we will wait for the facts to come out, along with any explanation Mr. Hill may have for his actions that initiated this unfortunate event. So, surprise, surprise, the boys in blue, they're not going to take any responsibility, okay? I mean, we've seen them literally kill people, unjustifiably so, on American streets, and they still justify their actions. Are we really shocked? I said yesterday, are they going to tell us the truth? Because the word is they're not going to release any body cam footage. That's what the word is right now. Miami-Dade police say they cannot release any additional info or body cam footage from the Tyreek Hill incident until after their internal affairs investigation is over. So we might not even see it. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I saw a video last night after we had streamed going around. Someone filmed, buddy, they were telling him to roll down his window, and they were saying, roll down your window or we'll break your effing window. Like, they sounded more aggressive before Tyreek Hill even got out of the car. They were threatening to bust in his window, and they didn't even give him a minute to get out of the car. Then you see when that officer goes from leaning on the motorcycle to up, he kicks out the back of Tyreek Hill's knee. That's redirecting him, is kicking out his knee. Come on. Give me a break. I don't know. I got to see some body cam footage. That's what I got to see. So Tyreek Hill responded through his lawyer. And this is from the law office of J.B. Collins. As personal attorney for Tyreek Hill, we would like to first thank all of the fans, onlookers, concerned citizens, and his Miami Dolphins teammates who put his safety and well-being above their own to ensure the matter from September 8th, 2024 didn't escalate any further than it did. Mr. Hill's legal team is exploring all legal remedies that may be available to Mr. Hill, as we believe that the officer's actions on September 8, 2024 were excessive. As Mr. Hill is appreciative of his status as a celebrity, it is not upon him how so many others in similar situations have met a different fate, and how fortunate all parties involved were to be able to walk away from this matter. To be clear, the traffic stop of Mr. Hill by officers of the Miami-Dade Police Department originated as a traffic infraction, but was then escalated after Mr. Hill provided officers with his driver's license and then rolled his window back up. One of the officers then knocked on Mr. Hill's driver's side window and advised Mr. Hill to keep his window open, keep his window rolled down, otherwise he was going to get him out of the car. You can see the video. That video is circulating. He says, "I'm going to break your effing window in." Mr. Hill had his window rolled down, and that officer then demanded Mr. Hill out of the vehicle, even after Mr. Hill complied. And you see that in the video. That's truth. Complied with that officer's request to demand Mr. Hill out of the vehicle, even after Mr. Hill complied with that officer's request to keep his window down. Immediately after, another officer then aggressively approached Mr. Hill's vehicle and stated something to the effect of, "If we have to break that effing window, we will." I saw this. You can literally see that video. Mr. Hill rolled down his window each time he was requested to do so by the requesting officers. Mr. Hill understands the inherently dangerous job law enforcement is tasked with and understands that officer safety is important. However, at no point in time did Mr. Hill pose a threat to these officers. We believe that this matter has escalated due to overzealous officers attempting to impose their authority on Mr. Hill because they were not pleased with how fast he he complied with the request and that Mr. Hill did not roll down his window far enough to their liking. Mr. Hill and the entire Hill family are thankful for many prayers, blessings, and concerns that you will have shared with them. Sincerely, the law offices of J.B. Collins. Listen, the stuff they say there about rolling down the window, that's literally on video. You can find that on X right now. That is, like, that evidence is out there. 110%. I'm telling you, man, this ain't going to go away. They are going to go out there and, you know, it's a terrible situation, unfortunate situation. And even Mike McDaniel talked about it for like 20 minutes today, right? And he just talked about, he was getting visibly worked up and visibly unhappy. You know what I mean? So you can tell that it rubbed our coach the real wrong way with everything that went down. And Calais Campbell is like Walter Payton Man of the Year. Okay, this guy's been recognized as like one of the best humanitarians in the league, but they cuffed him and he says from what he saw is excessive. Are we going to call the Walter Payton Man of the Year a liar too? See, that's the thing. We're getting multiple witnesses contradicting what the police officers are saying. I need to say this. I need to see body cam footage from the moment he was pulled over to the moment he was released. You know, and again, Hogwild makes the perfect example. I wonder why a famous player who had his windows blacked out wouldn't want to lower his window in front of hundreds of passing onlookers in his private car outside of the stadium. So, I mean, I don't know. So we'll continue to bring you the latest as this continues to develop. And yes, Jason, RIP to James Earl Jones. I watched The Sandlot like literally Saturday night. So I'm a James Earl Jones fan. I hadn't watched that movie in forever, and nostalgia hit me, and I was like, man, let me watch that. So, yeah, man, shout out to James Earl Jones, RIP. All right, let's get into recapping yesterday. We got over 500 in the room. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Let's start off with the offensive and defensive snap counts from yesterday. So you see it here. All right, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill leading the way as non-offensive lineman with 72 and 70% of the snaps. Julian Hill saw 59% of the snaps compared to Durham Smythe and Jonnu Smith. That is very interesting to say the least. Very interesting to say the least. I mean, okay. You know what I mean? I guess so. But Julian Hill saw the majority of the snaps. You know, and again, the thing is, you know, you look at why he saw so many snaps, and the reason why is clearly because of personnel usage. Right? That's pretty much why. Because of the personnel usage that they had. I mean, shout out to Julian Hill for taking on that kind of workload. I mean, color me impressed. You know, I don't know if he would have had as many with me. But I mean, because here's the thing, man, and especially Smythe, those hands, man, those hands were hurting us yesterday at times. They were seriously hurting us. But obviously, due to personnel usage, it is what it is. Because the Dolphins, They ran 11 personnel about 30% of the time yesterday. Now they had 2 tailbacks on the field on 52.3% of their snaps. No other team was over 33%. That's obviously because of the injuries and Devon Achane and how he was used, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyways, Achane saw 52% of the snaps. He saw the most snaps out of any running back. Ingold saw 41% of the snaps. Braxton Berrios out there. So people were asking Robbie Chosen. Robbie Chosen, we all remember him on that screen where he ended up being wide open, but the play was designed to the left side. He ended up seeing 12 snaps. Dubois saw 13 snaps. Can I ask you this? You know, I know you use them on special teams. You got 11 special team snaps and 3 offensive snaps. Why activate Tanner Conner if you're barely going to use him when you got Jalen Wright? Jalen Wright's clearly the more dynamic player. I mean, what are we saying here? Now, when we shift over to the defensive and special teams snaps, you can see David Long played 100% of the snaps. So did Kendall Fuller and Jordan Brooks, as well as Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer. Kader Kohu saw about 89% of the snaps. Ramsey, on a little bit of a lighter workload, saw about 77% of the snaps. Zach Sealer was the top defensive lineman. He saw 87% of the snaps. Ogba saw about 75%. Calais Campbell saw 66%, saw 35 out of the gate. Jalen Phillips, he was on a snap count as well. He saw about 64% of the snaps. Quentin Bell saw 16 snaps. Chop saw 16, so both saw about 30% of the snaps. And when you look at Chop Robinson and how he was used yesterday, you know, he was mainly used on first down and second down. He wasn't a really big part of. Now, you know, he had some reps where he showed some power yesterday. I will say that. He had some real reps where he was showing power yesterday. Like he had one rep where he was coming off the right edge, well, against the left tackle. So if you're on the offense coming off the left edge, right? But he put Cam Robinson on skates with one rep yesterday. He had a rep where he put him on skates. Storm Duck saw about 8 snaps for 15%. So Benito Jones only saw 8 snaps as well. So not a ton of work for Benito Jones. Brandon Peely only saw about 5 snaps. Marcus May only saw 3 snaps yesterday. And then you see Duke Riley, massive contributor on Quentin Bell and Duke Riley, massive contributors right there. 80% of the special team snaps. Same with Sierra Neal, Elijah Campbell, Anthony Walker. Anthony Walker did not see a single defensive snap. All of his snaps were on special teams yesterday. That's what that far right column is there. So interesting stuff when you look at the snap counts. Very, very interesting stuff when you look at the snap counts. All right. So let's continue on here. All right. And let's get into the PFF grades for all of you guys. All right. So when we get into the PFF grades here, this is what we've got. So offensively, Taron Armstead was the top graded player yesterday, 87.4. Austin Jackson, even with that sack allowed, came in at number 2 with 81.7. Tyreek Hill, number 3 at an 80.2. Look at Liam Eichenberg, an 80.1. I'm telling you, like, yeah, he ended up on the ground a few times yesterday, but he was pretty competent for the most part yesterday. You know, we remember his best snaps last year came at right guard, and he looked better at right guard than he does at center. I wouldn't move him again. Like, if I'm going to start someone else at center, I would start Andrew Meyer. Jalen Waddle was the number 5 rated guy, 78.2 was his offensive grade. Tua had a 72.3 passer grade, a 78.4 run grade for a 77.8 overall grade. He was the 6th highest graded guy. Achane. Jeff Wilson came in as the 7th highest graded with a 75. Achane 8 with a 3.2. Aaron Brewer came in with a 70.2 as well. So I mean, you got all 4 of the linemen 70 or above. Robert Jones came in with a 54.6. I will tell you this much. These grades, offensive line grades, I would put Aaron Brewer a little bit higher, but they pretty much line up with, they were more than competent to great when you get to Terron Armstead, while Robert Jones was clearly the weak link. So that I agree with that. Right? Durham Smythe had a 29.4. They killed him for those drops. He had a 29. Oh, my God. Jonnu Smith had a 38.4. Braxton Barrows had a 51.1. So not much to write home about when you get to the bottom there. When you get to the passing chart for Tua Tagovailoa, here they have him 3 for 6 on the deep level, and they have him 3 for 4 on the intermediate level. On the short level, they have him 6 for 12. And then behind the line of scrimmage, they have him 11 for 13. So look he had an NFL passer rating of 135.4 deep left and a 95.8 deep right. Middle of the field, intermediate level, a 118.8 passer rating. Intermediate right level, a 118.8 passer rating. When you look at it here, right? Tua Tagovailoa, he was kept clean on 38 of 34 dropbacks. He was 22 of 33 for 336 yards and a touchdown when he was kept clean. His average depth of target was 5.9%. His adjusted completion percentage jumps to 81.3 because they charged 4 drops to the receivers. Time to throw was about 2.09 seconds. His passer rating when he was kept clean was 110.2. When he was under pressure, he was 4 of 6. He was 1 of 4. I apologize. He had 6 dropbacks. He was 1 of 4 when he was under pressure for 2 yards. Average depth of target 12.3. His NFL passer rating dropped to 39.6. His time to throw was 4.23. And you see this right here. 36.4% of his dropbacks were play action, while 27.3% of his dropbacks were screens. So if you add that up, you're talking about 63.7% of his dropbacks were either play action or a screen. So they were trying to mitigate the offensive line a little bit yesterday with that, for sure. For sure. All right? Unbelievable. When you look at the receiver matchups, all right, Tyreek Hill, 7 of 7 receptions on 12 targets, 130 yards. I mean, he gave Antonio Johnson, Jaron Jones, and Ronald Darby the work. Darnell Savage was the only one who had some success against him. You look at Devon Achane, he had a reception against almost everyone on defense. Jalen Waddle gave the work. Andre Cisco got charged for the 63-yard reception against. He gave Ronald Darby the work. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, when you get into blocking here. So the sacks, Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, each charged with 1 sack and 1 pressure. Guys, the Miami Dolphins gave up 4 pressures yesterday. Hallelujah. And it can still be better. And it can still be better. So they've given up 4 pressures were charged to 1 to Armstead, 1 to Eichenberg, 1 to Jackson, 1 to Ingold. And it can still be better, guys. That's what's crazy. It can still get better. Now, when we hop over to defensively, man, remember when we used to have to go over 20-something pressures a week? It's crazy. Now, 4 pressures, we can name it quickly and move on. That's how far we've come. When you look at the top-graded defenders, David Long was number 1. with a 76.6. Calais Campbell was number 2 with a 74.1. Jalen Phillips, number 3 with a 73.1. Quentin Bell, number 4 with a 72.6. Javon Holland, I don't know how he... See, this is what I don't get. How is Javon Holland only a 72.2? I mean, look at... Forced a fumble that won the game. Targeted twice, allowed 0 receptions. Had an NFL passer rating of 39.6 against. What, because he missed 1 tackle? That dropped him? Come on, give me a break. DeShaun Hand came in at number 6. You look at the bottom here. Benito Jones graded out as the worst defender. I told you, Kader Kohu. I agree with that. Kader Kohu was rough at times yesterday. He graded out as a 41.1. Jordan Poyer, he had some rough moments too in that first half. He graded out at a 42.2. Jalen Ramsey, rough first half, leads him to a 55.9 grade. Emmanuel Ogbah only had a 56.8. And then when you go into coverage matchups, Kader Kohu was targeted 6 times, allowed 4 receptions for 67 yards, 3 first downs, and there was a drop from Christian Kirk. He had a 33.1. Oh, my God. Jordan Poyer, he was targeted 3 times, allowed 2 receptions for 23 yards, a first down, and the Brian Thomas touchdown was charged to him. David Long Jr. allowed 2 receptions on 3 targets for 11 yards and a first down. Jordan Brooks targeted 3 times, allowed 3 receptions for 43 yards and 2 first downs. Yeah, Jordan Brooks, he had some rough moments yesterday for sure. For sure. Kendall Fuller targeted twice, allowed 1 reception for 18 yards. Javon Holland, Ingram was targeted twice in his area, made 0 receptions, and Holland also had a pass breakup. See, that's the thing. He had a pass breakup. He had a forced fumble. How is he only graded in the 70s? See, this is why I tell you their grading is not gospel. I just go over it with you guys so you guys can see what it is. So, there is how the Dolphins looked from a coverage standpoint yesterday in week 1. Man, what's crazy is this team can just get better. That's what's the craziest part about all this. This team still has more ceiling to grow under. Great stuff. Absolutely great stuff. Russell says regarding Terron Armstead moving left guard, he just wants some kind of upgrade. Well, we got to find a different way. They might have waited too long, bro. That might be the reality situation. We get into the passing charts from yesterday. Here you go right here. Trevor Lawrence was 12 of 21 for 162 yards. 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. He was negative 10% on completion percentage over expected. And again, I already went over this. Made 0 tight window throws. Had a literal aggressive rate of 0. Tua had the 8th highest aggressive rate at just over 16%. Like, what are we talking about here? Listen, Trevor Lawrence, hey, you spread the ball out a little bit, but he was not impressive yesterday. If the guys weren't wide open, he wasn't making the throw and he wasn't trusting himself to make the throw. That's what was clearly evident to me, at least. So it is what it is. He didn't want to he took 0 risks yesterday. Now he made that nice throw to Brian Thomas Jr. in the back of the end zone. But at this rate, was he overthrowing Gabe Davis? Tua Tagovailoa in his passing chart. Man, hitting behind the line of scrimmage, pushing the ball to the short level, and then throwing some deep balls too. Right? Now, next gen stats, they charted him with 6 throws beyond 20 yards, so 6 deep throws. Right? So he was 23 of 37 for 338, a touchdown. His completion percentage over expected was minus 7.5%. So they actually expected him to be, 28, 29 of 37 instead of 23 for 37. So, but yeah, man. Tua got it done, baby. Tua got it done. I All right, let's get into the next-gen stats from yesterday. Trevor Lawrence, longest completed air distance, about 35.7%. Tua Tagovailoa, 43.8 yards. I think I said percent on Lawrence. I meant 35.7 yards. Fastest ball carrier was Jalen Waddle. He got up to 20.31 miles per hour yesterday. Washington for the Jags got up to 20.27. You look at the fastest sack, Travon Walker sacked Tua in about 3.8 seconds. Calais Campbell, he had his sack early in the game, was the fastest sack for the Dolphins, and it took about 4.1 seconds. When you look at the passing chart here, Trevor Lawrence, he was 3 for 3 on the deep level. On the intermediate level, they had him 3 for 5. On the short level, they had him 5 for 8. And then behind the line of scrimmage, they had him 1 for 3. Now, again, this is why I always bring it up, right? Now, you go to Pro Football, we went over, the to his coverage, passing depth or whatever. They got the deep right. Both Next Gen Stats and PFF had him 1 for 2 on the deep level on the left side, 0 for 0 through the middle of the deep field, and 2 for 4 on the right side of the deep field. Now, where they differ is on the intermediate level. Next Gen Stats, they had him 0 for 1 to the left side, as did PFF, but PFF charted with him with 2 throws to the middle of the field on the deep level and being 2 for 2, while Next Gen Stats only credited him with 1. To the right side, both PFF and Next Gen Stats had him 1 for 1 on the intermediate level. On the short level, Next Gen Stats has him 3 to 7 to the left, while PFF had him 3 for 6. PFF had him 0 for 3 the middle of the field. Next Gen Stats has him 1 for 3 on the middle of the field. And then both had him 3 for 3 to the right side of the short area of the field. Now behind the line of scrimmage, to the left side, Next Gen Stats had him 5 for 6. To the left side, PFF had him 4 for 5. To the middle of behind the line of scrimmage, PFF had him 3 for 3. He was 1 for 1 according to Next Gen Stats. And then to the right side, PFF had him 4 for 5 on the behind the line of scrimmage to the right side, while Next Gen Stats had him 5 for 7. And I always say this, put the stock in the Next Gen Stats. They got like literal chips in the football. They know. When you look at the rushing, to that left side, off the tackle's hip, Etienne found a lot of success. All right. He had 4 attempts for 23 yards. In between the A gap and the B gap on the right, he had 3 attempts for 18 yards. Bigsby, he was killing that A gap and B gap to the right side. He had 2 attempts for 33 yards. And then off tackle to the right side, 4 attempts for 19 yards. Devon Achane only really found success hitting the off the edges, 3 for 10 off the left, 4 attempts for 10 yards onto the right. Moser didn't really find a lot of success at all. Again, he did. They're finding success running off of Armstead's hip, but beyond that. And then Jeff Wilson Jr. was the only guy who found gap success with some power runs, 3 attempts for 21 yards through the A and the B gap to the right side. When you look at receiving, the league average is about 2.96 yards in terms of separation. Washington had 4.97 yards for the Jags. Gabe Davis had 4.07. Brian Thomas had 3.35. Christian Kirk had 3.55. Evan Ingram was the only one below the league average. While you go over to the Dolphins, Berrios had not even a yard of separation. Tyreek Hill beat the league average at 3.7. Jalen Waddle was under the league average at 2.87. Durham Smythe was under the league average by 1.39 yards. And Jonnu Smith was over it at 5.04 yards. So separation from Berrios. Again, right? We're getting into the thing where the third options aren't really getting a ton of separation. From the defensive pass rush, now the average separation from a quarterback, league average is about 4.56 yards. Travon Walker was held behind that at 4.75. So was Arik Armstead at 4.84 yards. Robertson Harris was 4.85 yards, and Josh Allen Hines about 5.69 yards. So all kept off that league average. Jalen Phillips beat that league average at about 3.5 yards. Calais Campbell slightly beat that average about by 0.06 at 4.5 yards. Zach Sealer was behind it at 5.66 yards, and Emmanuel Ogba was behind it as well at 5.75 yards. So there you go. Guys, over 525 of you. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Let's keep it going, though. We ain't done. Every year, last year starting, every week last year starting, we started to go over the efficiency charts for quarterbacks every week, and we saw Tua was weekly off the charts. This year, this is how we started off. PFF grade compared to EPA expected. You remember, EPA is a big stat, right? It's a big stat for what we want to see, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. All right. Anyways, what this shows is expected points added over the offensive grade. So Tua Tagovailoa right here, technically, if you're going to go off of this, he's just under that curve. Just under that curve in terms of, EPA. So he was right around the 5th, 6th most efficient guy yesterday when you look at it. And I'm telling you, if he would have hit that overthrow to Tyreek, this thing would have jumped through the roof. It would have jumped through the roof. So, but yeah, he was about 5th or 6th most efficient guy yesterday. Look at that cluster. Whoever thought you'd see Sam Darnold and Derek Carr in the cluster with Patrick Mahomes? Oh my God, what alternate reality are we living in right now, huh? Man. But there you go. There's your efficiency chart for this week. Now, what was interesting to me was, let's check this out. All right. This is an offensive series results chart. All right. So when we break this chart down right here and what it's showing us, all right, this is the rate at which each team's offense turned a series into a new set of downs. All right. So look at this. You see the Dolphins there at 16. So about 7% of their drives turned into a touchdown, but about 59%. Remember, they started off 2 for 6 and they ended up pretty strong. They turned about 59%. They turned about 59% of that into. So, I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed. You know what I mean? Doing the damn thing. I love it. Doing the damn thing. So, because we started off rough, we were at like 33%, and they brought it up all the way to 59%. Now, 11% of their series resulted in a field goal, 15% in a punt. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, they really started turning it on in that second half. I mean, what else can you say? Got to give them their props. They turned that on in the second half. They really did. So, it wasn't pretty, but hey, you got to win the ugly games if you want to be a serious team. Those are the games where you got to find a way to win. Shout out to Brad Martin. He just gifted 5 memberships to the chat. J-Bands, 561BX, Joint to Joint, and SoFlo So, as well as Chuck Fins Up, were all just gifted memberships. Shout out to Brad Martin for helping expand the Phinside fam. Appreciate you, sir. And then as we head into this week, Can Dolphins Poyer help Miami against nemesis and ex-teammate Josh Allen? He explains. For years, as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills repeatedly tormented the Dolphins, there was one current Dolphins employee who relished every minute of it. But after 7 seasons in Buffalo, Jordan Poyer is now a Dolphin with a new perspective on this bitter AFC East rivalry. And when the Bills visit Hard Rock Stadium on Thursday, Poyer will be charged with helping slow a quarterback who has been a Dolphins nemesis more than any other NFL player during the past decade. Allen has torched the Dolphins for years, winning 10 of 12 games against them. His 33 touchdown passes opposite to just 7 interceptions are his most against any opponent. So are his 3,363 passing yards. So are his 638 yards rushing. So does Poyer have any inside information on nuances in Allen's game that could be very useful to new teammates? Poyer on Monday suggested he does, before adding, they exist on every player. We'll keep those within the team. Great player. Seen him do crazy things over the years and really excited for my first opportunity to play against him. Remember, I called it when we signed him, and I'll call it again. Jordan Poyer's getting a pick against Josh Allen. I'm sure there's not a whole lot they haven't seen on playing tape. We'll continue to talk through it this week. Poyer began his Dolphins career Sunday by playing 53 defensive snaps, which was all of them in the 2017 win against Jacksonville. His 6 tackles were second most on the team, behind David Long Jr., who had 8. And though there were 2 completions in his coverage area, there were signs that this Javon Holland Poyer safety pairing will be a good one. Poyer is deeply appreciated in Buffalo for his 7 excellent seasons there, which included first-team All-Pro recognition in 2021, a Pro Bowl in 2022, 22 interceptions, 48 passes defended, and 11 sacks. Started most of his 107 Buffalo appearances alongside Micah Hyde, who remains an unsigned free agent. Still have a good relationship over there, Poyer said. Thankful to all my years in Buffalo. We're excited to play. He said that he and Bills players absolutely exchanged in good-natured trash talking during the offseason. Boys know we're coming. I know they coming. Poyer said it's going to be a fun Thursday night. Poyer said, one of the reasons I came here is I've seen this Dolphins team over the last 7 years grow and become who they are, and I wanted to become part of that stepping stone to winning the AFC East and make a run in the playoffs. This is just part of that. What a cool opportunity Thursday night. Poyer raised eyebrows in July when he spoke of his perspective playing the Dolphins as a member of the Bills. I think just sharing the experience playing against this team over the past few years, you just get a sense of, if you get on top of this team, they might fold, Poyer said in July. Asked Monday if he received blowback from his teammates about that comment. Poyer didn't answer directly, but said Sunday's Dolphins rally from 17-17 down at half with a deficit was a good step. There were a lot of people who could have counted us out, and we stuck with it. I've been saying this for years. Every game, keep playing, and it will always come down to the last series. It's about handling key moments. The Bills admire Poyer for playing through injuries in his Pro Bowl season in 2022. He sustained a hyperextended elbow in training camp, a sprained foot in week 2, rib injuries that included a punctured lung in week 18, a torn meniscus in week 15, and a concussion. So there you go. You got Poyer admitting he's going to let this team know some of the weaknesses so he can help us out against Josh Allen. And him and Josh Allen are tight. So, hey, man, any insight we can give, considering Mike White hopped to the other team and he's going to be helping them out. So, any insight we can get, I'll take it. I will take it. So here's the schedule for this week. Tomorrow night we'll be back for Tua Tuesday. We'll break down every single drop back of Tua Tagovailoa. All right, all 41. They'll be coming for you tomorrow. Me and Martin got you guys covered. Actually, I think it's about 44. So we got you covered right there. Wednesday, there is going to be no finish line. I got to do the game preview show. So we'll preview Thursday's game on Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll be live reacting to the Miami Dolphins game as they take on the Buffalo Bills at Hard Rock Stadium. So a lot of content coming your way. And I want to put it in the chat right now. Did Tua Tagovailoa solidify himself as a top 5 QB yesterday on an off day? I want to hear what you guys say in the chat. I put a quick poll in the chat. Y'all got about a minute to vote, so go give it a vote. All right. So we got over 500 of you in the chat right now. We had over 550 of you peaked today. Appreciate all of you coming through on this Monday. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Vote in the chat right now on that poll. We're already up to over 50 votes. All right. And over 80% of you are saying yes. Tua solidified himself as a top 5 quarterback yesterday. Remember, that was an off day, and he came away leading the NFL in passing yards. Crazy. Only quarterback to throw for over 325 yards and get a win yesterday. Think about that. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video and this recap. Appreciate BetUS. Go check them out, betus.com. And shout out to all of you for coming through and supporting your boy. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. As always, fins up. And I will see each and every one of you on the next one. Until then, have a fantastic evening and enjoy Monday Night Football, everyone.